All right.
I sent him, I have a lot of documentation showing that. Yeah. He sent me a text message saying, sorry, basically. I'll let you.
All right, our next group is ELMMO, and the client could not make it. That they apologize for not being able to make it. So Joey Martin is the team leader, and he's going to introduce everybody.
Yep. All right. You just worked out. Oh, it's not. We got to change the PC.
Oh, yeah, it's on laptop still.
So I hit desktop or something. Okay. So our project is ELMMO. We're at, our team name is actually called the Silver Snakes. This is actually a reference from Secrets of the Hidden Temple from Nickelodeon. Legend. I'm Joey Marshall. I'm the group leader. This is Igor Stojanov. And this is Jonathan Thoreau and Trey Martin. So what ELMMO is it's short for an electric motor manager. It's basically a web accessible information system. And it was set up because Jerry, the client, noticed that the technicians that were using Excel spreadsheets and whatnot to manage where hundreds of these motors were on the Siemens plants. And we were making something that would help them organize that. Jonathan, you want to get the features?
Yeah, we have a bunch of different features on there. We have a lot more that could be planned for 4.12 as well. The ones we focus on were user management and user access, multiple users, adding and removing motors, because that's what the motor management system is going to do, viewing data and multi-feature data tape, uploading and creating maps for locating motors geographically. So you can upload your own map. You can from Google Docs or Google Maps or any kind of site, and you can do whatever. And Joey's going to talk about that later.
Yeah, it's not as complicated as he was making it sound. We actually want to make it as simple as possible. It's uploading an image. That way the user can put a crayon drawing. They can put a hardcore schematic. They can do whatever they want. We didn't want to come up with a GIS solution for for a plant. I mean, there's a lot of problems involved with that.
And of course, there's maintaining reports and stuff like that for the motors. Right, any problems that might come up.
Right. Our client wasn't able to make it today. His name is Jerry Thomas. He's an account manager and sales representative at Siemens, and he's also an ISAT student here at Southeastern. So yeah, he was the one that set us on this quest. Go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, so what we use for this project is basically a lump bundle, which encapsulates several open source free software such as Apache Server, MySQL, PHP, Perl, and such as. So we use basically PHP for the server side. We used a lot of JavaScript. First we used Yahoo graphical user library, but we found some problems with it, so we switched to jQuery for our basic data table. And also we used HTML, CSS, and MySQL for the database.
Oh yeah, we also used a jQuery theme UI to help out with the website too. Yeah, UI was awful. I mean, the CSS was overriding everything. I mean, any page you included UI onto would just load differently. It was a lot better once we got jQuery in there. So the way we split things up was, you know, Jonathan, he tackled a lot of the user features, and what goes with that is the menu bar, which changes dynamically based on your user credentials. Igor had worked on creating and viewing the maintenance reports, so the associated maintenance report with a motor, you know, pretty important thing. Trey had done the Trey had done the info page, the motor info page, to show all the motor data in one place outside of the data table, and he'd worked on the about page, but also he did the, I call it the inner GUI, but you know, with CSS, we had jQuery UI do a lot of that template and menu bar. It's a pretty simple website, but inside are actually content blocks. You see a lot of CSS for, you know, header tags and such, and Trey went ahead and did that. What I worked on was the view motors data table. Basically, it needed to be kind of a, you want to see all the data table. He wanted to see all the data in a table, but it comes with the problem because he gave us the data specifications were like 19 fields. So we had to make a data table that would do a lot of different things and adjust to visually to the user's needs. I also worked on the maps, which I'll show you. It's kind of cool, and I hope to expand on that a bit. And also, I did the template of the web page, the jQuery UI, stuff like that. And also, I got the color. I had a horrible time with colors until I went to cooler.adobe.com and got a good swatch. Okay. So.
That's why you never get into it.
Okay, so we wanted to make a multi-browser compatible solution. So we're going to show you back and forth from Firefox and Internet Explorer.
Jerry originally wanted this for compatible for IE 6 and up, so we really wanted to keep it at least really pretty in IE and functional in the rest. And IE, if you've ever programmed for IE, it is the most finicky, fickle browser out there. So you program for the rest, and then you kind of go back and hack your way through IE and make it look better.
Did he want above 6 or 6?
They want 6 plus.
It's like 3 different websites.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I've tested it out on my little netbook. I'm guessing this thing, which has IE6, just because I was too lazy to do it. I'm guessing this thing is like, what, 8? Probably.
I think it's 8.
Yeah. What was I thinking?
We had features that would work on IE 6, but not on 8, and not on 7, but on 6. And
yeah, something. Oh, yeah. When I noticed,
blew our minds.
Something I learned going through, you know, multi-browser compatible solutions is, you know, sometimes you'll run into things that actually work better on IE than on Firefox or what have you. And when you encounter those situations, you always have to step back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Because sometimes you can forget like a pound sign in your colors, and IE will be like, cool, whatever, and then Firefox is like, no, that's not how you do it. Okay, so I just logged in as a admin on Firefox, and user 1. This is a standard user.
I noticed the button layout is a little different on each browser as well, because the CSS is interpreted differently.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
We actually
And Trey will hit you with this.
This is our about page, which basically just tells about the project, tells you what the purpose of the entire project was. It gives a little bio of each team member, and click on this and it slides up. And it shows all the bios. And basically, we just wanted this for like if anybody just came across our website, they'd actually know what it did. And this shows up even before you log in, so whatever you click on that, it just pops up without having to log in. It should look the same on both.
Right. Okay, so I guess naturally the first thing to do, we'll jump over here, add a motor. Something we were hoping to get done was, since 19 fields is really difficult, and we're really close, probably an hour away from getting it, is having it where an admin submits motor templates specified by brand and model. Something with the same brand and model should have, a lot of these fields should be quite the same, and we got a list of those fields, and we're working on getting that, and we're going to have a, you know, an Ajax kind of autocomplete for brand and model, and once you get those, it just completes what's the rest of there. That would be something that would help out, because he wanted to do like a, I think it was he wanted to do like a read text, a read photos to text type of thing, and
OCR.
yeah, OCR, that's what it was. And we had tried that out a bit, but when you're dealing with text and plates that, you know,
Different shapes.
yeah, they're different shapes. They're defined by depth, the letters, and it didn't work at all. So we figured that would be a best way to go about it. So you can add, I'll add something for brand.
Big thing with the OCR is that he gave us, we started Googling a bunch of the different motor tags they had, and they were all, you know, while standard to a human eye, where you can see that there's a model number somewhere and there's a manufacturer number somewhere, and you know, there's all these different categories that you know that's going to be there. They were different textures, they were different, some of them were on metal, some of them were on yeah, all kinds of different paper and plastic, and they didn't always read very well into the OCR that we had available. And so after testing it a few times, we just decided we were going to try to do an AJAX solution that didn't quite make it.
All right, so we just added that. Anybody remember what I named it? So I'm about to go view the table. Here's our data table. This is the jQuery one. It's got a lot of different features. You know, you can sort. It's all doing it on the server. It's got pagination. Yeah, okay, you can find that. We've got model. We've got, okay, there we go. Oh, there it is. It's right on the first one. Okay, and it's, again, you got 19 fields here. So we've got this. You can hide the rows as many as you want. You see, using jQuery UI, it helped out with that. And you can bring them all back. So the user can customize what level of data they want to see here. So that's a kind of important part. And now I've gone crazy with it. Searching is nice. A, just about everything has A in it. Heavy. Yeah. And originally during the prototype, I had what looked like a library type of searching database type thing where you type in and or and what have you. But with this jQuery plugin, we just had this really nice search bar in there, so we went ahead and used that. Okay, so when if you're here, you can also view this data table in IE, and you can create, if you create a report, put an author, a name in there, and a motor ID. Okay, that submitted a report. If we go to view reports, there you go. Should be able to see it somewhere right there. There it is. Good stuff from Jim. All right, and this was what Igor had done, so I should be letting him talk about that.
So for those people who were here for the previous presentation, probably noticed that our website looks different every time we present. That's because we always find better tools to improve our website, basically. So what I've worked on was basically creating reports and being able to view them. I tried to go with something simple that everybody can pretty much figure it out. So basically, this is a JavaScript template. You can highlight certain words in order to express certain importance, I guess, or something like that. And you can submit. You can type your name, your ID of the motor that you're looking at, and submit it. Also, I have view reports where you're able to view all the reports that were submitted, and I have a feature where you're able to see we're able to see reports for certain motor IDs, but we're not using this thing anywhere else, so it's just like floating around somewhere, I guess. So see, it selects all the like more idea that are a certain name. That's pretty much.
I want to show you the maps. Creating the map is probably one of the most convenience adding things to this. View maps. Okay, so this is like a list of maps, if you will. If you put in there, I didn't actually put any maps in there. I just put in images. But you can put any JPEG in there. The point is that it'll work. Okay, it throws it up here, and you see these nodes. You click on them. See, these are motors. If this was a schematic, this would be a location for it. And you can go ahead and drop a marker for it, like putting it somewhere else. Oh, hit the wrong mouse button on it. There we go. And then we'll do E32. It has an autocomplete feature on here, but it goes along with it. That's weird. Okay. But oh, it actually added it there. I realize now I removed all of the alerts that let you know what's going on. So you click here. It says IE3. I think that was the most recent one I put in there. I'm going to add another one for the letters. And there it is. And if you click here, it might show you reports for. There it goes. It shows you the reports for all of the motor E32 on here. And this is again, this is Igor's reports view. You know, Jonathan did a lot of the user features. If you log in, he wanted it to be all logging in, all registration went through the admin. That's how it works. And it'll send emails and do the works.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
all right. So the way user management works, or the way all this stuff works, is basically you get your motor management, which can only be accessed by users and super users, but only certain parts of this can be accessed by admins. I think we're logged on as admin right now. So we pretty much get full access. We've got, over here you got who's logged in, and you can look at their info. You can edit your current password and your email address, and you can look at your info. If you're not logged on to this person and you try to come up here and say, I want to log on, I want to try to change something from my account, which is jterrio, I can only see the user info. I can't change anything with that. Same thing with the edit. If I try to go up here and try to change it and try to go to Terrio, it's should kick me out to the other site, but it looks like it's referring me back to my my original page. It works as well. A big part was in sorry. Yeah, that's all right. That's our new Accordion menu browser.
Yeah. It saves every time you mouse over, so if you get crazy with it.
Yeah. So this is kind of your basic GUI functionality that it doesn't seem to want to go down to. But it has your add user, and so that's only going to be something that admins can do. So we'll add a really bad spelling of Dr. Al-Qadi's name here. So we'll put in, and so we'll do. And I think you got to be 4 letters or more. Let's see. I don't remember this password now. And it's got to be a valid email address, or it'll give you an error. So let's see if we can get it to tell us a couple errors here. I'm sure it will. Yeah, it's an error. You come down here to tell you where the error is at. It's below 5 characters. You got to go in there and change your 5 characters. We'll just do that and see if it pops up. All right. And we named him right here. He's an admin, and he's in the database. Any of these with the last user active, I changed this, the date format. So because recently, and if they haven't logged in a while, specifically since they've been added. Then they haven't been updated, so yeah. That's one thing. You can also go down here and you can edit fields. So if you don't want to, well, you can't do him because he's logged in right now. So do G Thomas and change him to a user. And you can change his first name or last name. You don't have to. You leave them blank, they'll stay fixed. So G Thomas is now he's a user now. Yay. You can also delete them pretty easily. It's quick and delete and slash risk. And she's not there anymore. Oh no. This also keeps up with all the different people that are logged on at the moment, and it'll show you how many guests are viewing the site. So there's a bunch of people on the site right now. I can see it. And you can also look at their info, or what's viewing their info. He didn't specify anything that he wanted for these, but there's something that we wanted to add just in case he wanted to expand on, and different things that, you know, give him some different options for expandability, and not just for him, but for other clients that could be interested.
Yeah, and Jonathan used a lot of PHP session variables to do this. You probably noticed before when I did the maps, I used a little bit of Ajax in there. Well, actually, the whole maps page is just Ajax back and forth for getting the autocomplete for the motor ID, as well as the bullets and what maps they belong to, and uploading maps, what have you. And yeah, anyone got any questions? Go ahead.
Just a suggestion. I noticed on your view reports, you have it going from oldest to newest. You don't want to look through old reports every time.
Yeah, we can do that.
One thing I noticed on your form there for your validation, one thing that's always handy, I mean, if you're not going to Ajax it to where, or client side it to where the user can instantly see what field he's violated, do a validation summary at the top or the bottom, wherever the page refreshes to, so they can just instantly see what it is instead of having to scroll down.
Right. Okay.
Did you consider any sort of on the output for your reports? Did you consider any sort of alternative formats or ways of using, say, XML or style sheets or something like that to allow you to output your reports in something besides an HTML table?
Well, exporting them out into XML, I suppose would have a lot of advantages, but we didn't have any demands for that coming from the client. So for the purposes that we're using them, I guess it never arose to us to use anything that was working at the time.
So a lot of the computers that they'd be running would be older machines, probably 5 years or older, and like I said, internet's IE6, so older machines using older software. Too much going on could be bad for it, but I don't know if exporting it to XML would really be that big of a deal. But just trying to keep it really simple and.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, a question. I noticed when you have your delete user, what happens when you try to review or report or any work that a user's done after you delete that user?
So you delete a user and you go and view his reports?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's still in there.
Right, because
I'm saving the name of the actual user, and I'm not looking at if the username already exists or not.
Right. Yeah, that has a lot to do with how the database is structured. I didn't work a lot with the users on it from the top of my head, so I can't tell you exactly how it was done.
When deleting users, are you disabling them or actually?
They're gone. They're off the database.
I recommend just disabling.
So you must be
Keep the
duplicating.
historical. Yes.
You must not be using multiple tables for creating your reports then.
Multiple, to create the reports, there's one table to do it, but I believe we do join at some point. Igor did the report, so.
It's just one table, I think.
Oh, okay.
When you create it, it comes out as a span, so It actually saves us basically a text span after.
We had different ideas about implementing the reports thing. We had even like an idea of just dumping files into the server and just reading them. But we went to something that's easy and just like it's easy to see and like implement.
So is this ever going to be released?
You know, when I first met with him, he had presented this idea to us in class, quite boldly. When I met with him, before I even said one thing to him, he really was like, this is really like 3 different types of projects. You can just take one piece of it. And I was like, let me go as far as I can go. And, I said, as far as, the data, the user access, and the reports, that was all very within scope. And then it was the maps and, making an easier way of putting in data that I said would be on the frontiers of it. And the maps are going well. There's something that I'm using a jQuery plugin to do it. It's not really a jQuery plugin. It's just some dude who has a cool script on the internet. And I played with it because what it does is all those bullets you saw that were being placed were being represented in HTML. So you could, it made it easy to DOM them in and DOM them out. And, I'd reload the picture and it would work. And something that I wanted to expand it to do is that you can put sub images in there. So you would click on a portion of it and it would zoom in to a closer portion. However, it wasn't actual zoom. It was more like you'd click on a portion of that picture and it would zoom into another image that happened to be zoomed in on it. And that's a cool feature. I like it just because if I had gotten that in there, the user would be clear on what they'd have to do, crop a few images, whatever. And that may be a little extra work, some people would say, but it's better. I figured that's better than giving something that they may want to do it a little bit differently later, because they can put all sorts of maps in there. Like I said, they can put a crayon drawing in there. They can put a seriously complicated schematic in there of all types, and it's really really flexible that way. Yep.
For the section where you were doing the maps, I noticed you had to drag that little icon and then the button and then you added it.
Yep.
Couldn't you just use JavaScript to capture right click and add that functionality to, like, say, a context? So you could right click right where you wanted your.
So you right click and we. Yeah, but at some point you do have to enter in a motor idea of something. So it would, yeah, you could do that. And it could DOM up a form that you would type in, or a pop-up dialog that you would type in an ID into. But at some point you got to give it something to relate to the rest of it.
Under move tools, there's you can have windows that float and freely move in front of the window, so you can like physically move it and type in forms, and it can do, for example, based on our AJAX calls, to send the information and then validate anything via validation, and then return in the same form without having to move the page.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about state.
So even Microsoft did that for their AJAX, and jQuery's got to have it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does have that. It has the dialogues popping up there, and the AJAX related with. I've done the AJAX calls in jQuery, and they're really great. AJAX related with the dialogues. I haven't experienced too much with, but I remember when we were working with UE, they were big on making an entire template of your website that was just you drag and drop it and move it around and what have you. And that was cool, but it would add a second to our loading time. And doing includes were so much more convoluted with UE than it was with jQuery. Everything seems to be a lot slimmer in it. But yeah.
Do you have another question?
Yes, you're on the map, and when you're adding, at the beginning when you're adding all those different motors to the same place, I noticed when you scrolled over it, it would only show the top one.
What's that?
So in the top right, the one where you added 4 motors, when you
Okay.
the top right bullet.
Oh, this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you added about 4 motors right there.
Yes.
It only shows the top one.
Right, because the pixel locations were exact, so it's probably sitting directly on top of each other. That
Which
could
is impossible.
Could we just?
well, which is right, which is I mean you can add a lot of validation for that, but that was another big reason why I wanted to get to where you would have an outline of a certain portion, and you can click on it, it would zoom in. That way the different sizes of these boxes wouldn't affect you because you can zoom in on a certain portion because maps can be big.
Okay, one next question. How has this project made you appreciate the need for continued professional development outside of the project or outside of this class?
Well, I think most of us, when we first started this...
Well, each of you can answer that.
Right. Yeah, I think most of us, when we first started this, we had actually kind of... I don't know. At the time, I was kind of foolish, and I had shied away from internet development just because I hated on it. But I was really foolish then. And just going through the motions of this, and some of them, we use LAMP because I wanted to go through all the motions and making the template, and we fudged the whole template and look of it so many times, and realized we don't know much about color theory, and just going through that and working through that was what really helped out a lot, and it can be surprising to you. You program your face off, but then you're making a menu bar, and you're making the buttons on your own, and you realize that just so many things go wrong. It was really quite. In retrospect,
did anybody else find that there were professional development issues, things that you'd like to learn or do later that that this kind of pointed out to you?
Yeah. Me personally, I kind of like the web development side more so than like making an app, because for me, like it was like you did something that was instantaneous, you saw it immediately displayed, and I don't know, I just like that way better. So I feel that's needed more.
Right. I really like the web development just because of where it's going, and you look into HTML5. We don't really use much HTML5 here because we wanted to work on IE Explorer, so we stuck with jQuery and stuff like that for things like for a lot of the things. But just what intrigues me when you look at things like unlimited storage with HTML5 and seeing how web development is starting to the gap between app development and web development is starting to close a bit, and it makes you realize that that you really can't. I imagine it's pretty hard to be in this profession and not be experienced with web development, especially for the coming future.
I have to say that when we first started this project, we all had very little experience with web development. But as we went along, we learned also different tools, different libraries every time, and we improved our features every time as we went along. I think it's a good way to increase your programming knowledge with web development and overall. But I don't think there's anybody who knows everything about web development overall.
When I started this, I had a decent knowledge of HTML and PHP and very little JavaScript, still very little JavaScript, but I got to know and love PHP a lot, and HTML's, it's good for what it does, but it makes you appreciate the other tools that are out there, and it makes you want to learn about the other tools that are out there, so you don't have to do it all by hand. Thousands and thousands of lines of code that work differently on different browsers. And there's a lot of stuff out there for cross-browser accessibility and compatibility that we may have used more if we had had more time, or had less to do with all the different things that the client wanted.
Yeah, with web development, one thing that I thought was really interesting about it is that it really, in any other, single language type development area, you don't see so many deprecated ways of of a solution as you do in web development. And if you're any good programmer, you know, you're going to go through and find every way that you can do it, and then you go by and look later and realize, oh, well, you know, you can center anything on a web page in like 4 different ways, you know, and some of them, you know, HTML is just going to drop, web standards is just going to drop one day. And it seems like every time we would learn something, we'd have to learn something 4 times before we found the right way for us to do it. Like this top menu bar, I did it like once with dry JavaScript, once with dry JavaScript, like no libraries, and CSS, one with pure CSS, and then this one with the help of jQuery. And each time, you think it would get easier as you go on. It was just, but it was comical going through. Thank you. Okay, thank you.